Hello and welcome along to the VMTV Rugby Pod. It's been a wee while, but we're back. Delighted Alan Quinlan is in studio. Nice tanned look on you. You've obviously been getting plenty of sun in Rathfarnham. Is that right, Alan Quinlan?
A little bit of sun, yeah. The sun is blasting through. As Roy Keane said in his podcast, the same sun for everyone in the world. There's only one sun.
Very good. Well, plenty of rugby to chat. Lions, obviously, but this weekend Ireland have a summer test to look forward to in Tbilisi, and then the week after against Portugal. New coaching staff, Paul O'Connell at the top of the tree, and he announced his team earlier today. We're going to actually run you through it just so everyone's aware. Jimmy O'Brien at fullback, Tommy O'Brien in the right wing, debut for him, Jamie Osborne and Stuart McAvoy in the centres, Jacob Stockdale left wing, Prendergast and Casey captain for Craig, which would be a delight for him and his family. Then number 8 Gavin Coombs, Nick Timoney at open side, Ram Baird at number 6, Dara Murray debut for the Buccaneers and Connacht man. In the second row with Cormac Izuchukwu, then Thomas Clarkson in the front row with Jack Boyle and Gus McCarthy at hooker. We'll talk about the bench as well a bit later on. But Alan, your first take of that team, it's actually quite an exciting one, isn't it?
The biggest issue I have doing the commentary on Saturday for this game, is it Dara Murray or Dara Murray?
Okay.
That's one for the comments for anyone that listens into the podcast, because
and you'll be lucky. Because Dave will say it. You'll have a
no.
But
if he says the wrong way, I'll have a problem with it.
We'll get it right for you.
Is it Dara Murray or Dara Murray? Because all I've heard is this Murray for the last couple of years.
Is this an Ulster twang or an actual?
No. This is what a lot of other commentators are saying.
Right.
So maybe we'll get Dara on to confirm that. Is it Dara Murray or Dara Murray?
We'll sort it. We'll go for a Murray, will we, Al?
No, I don't like Murray.
Okay.
If that's the real pronunciation, I'll have a problem then, won't I? It's Murray as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the last one of the games I did, I went with Dara Murray towards the end of the season.
Right.
And who are you trusting there?
Okay, we'll move on. So we'll I'm going with Murray anyway, whether I'm wrong or right on Saturday.
Are you looking forward to the weekend, obviously, but what do you make of the 23?
Yeah, it's a strong side, very good side. I think it's in some of the selections there's this team picked to win this game.
And rightly so.
Yeah, I think so. Look, Georgia have shown that over the years, a lot of their players play in France. They're getting stronger all the time. We nearly had very bad memories as my crop of Irish players back in 2007 at the World Cup. Dennis Leamy held up one of the Georgian players in the second pool match in France, in Bordeaux. They would have beaten Ireland that day. And I've played against Georgia a good few times. They're very strong physical players, I think, very explosive, very committed, probably a little bit one-dimensional. Sometimes you think they're trying to, blast out over you and run through you rather than using the silky skills. But I think they've developed their game and there's a real ambition to play, and I think when they get all their players together and get them back from France, and they'll sense that this is a great opportunity, because they gave Australia a good run last year in a test in July in Tbilisi as well.
Beaten Wales a few times?
They've beaten Wales a few times. And a lot of talk and calls that there should be a qualifier for the Six Nations, and maybe a few times in the last number of years. I think Italy have got some good results in the last couple of seasons and been far more competitive, that Georgia should replace Italy at times, which is, it's never going to happen, because I think the history of the Six Nations and all that, whether it'll be expanded, I think that's their best chance. I don't think there'll be a relegation scenario there. But yeah, they're always very physical, strong and powerful players. And this Irish team is there's some really exciting. When I look at a team like this, Stuart, I think, who's going to go on and play in the big games in the Six Nations, the big November internationals? Is there players in here that can, will they do it this November, the next Six Nations, or maybe towards the World Cup? And there's a lot of players in there. Obviously, some of them have been capped. They've been regulars with the Irish squad.
So where are you looking there? 4 or 5 of them or more?
Oh, easily 4 or 5. I think I've mentioned Cormac Izuchuku a good few times. I'm a fan of his. I think he's a very talented player. I'm not sure he's the biggest bruiser of a seconder that you'll ever get. Very, very athletic, outstanding ball carrier, becoming very physical, intelligent rugby player, runs good lines. That sounds very disrespectful to Cormac Izuchuku because he's as big as Tygburn, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he's that
and
kind of. He's not
even as you say that. Is he a 4 or 6? Or are you not even going there?
Yeah, I'm not even going there because I think the way the game is gone, and I think so many teams now are looking at those kind of hybrid players who can play both. I played second row a little bit at times over the years. So I think it's very common now. Lots of teams are looking for, tailor their selection according to the opposition and maybe get a little bit of bulk. We know the importance of line-out ability, having a good line-out operator. We've also seen two kind of tear away wing forwards as well, kind of two open sides teams playing that. We saw it with Pollock, didn't we, in Australia and
Argentina?
No, the other open side, David Pollock, and what's the other great wing forward who just recently retired? Former captain for Australia. Oh Jesus, I'm going blank. Pocock, sorry, yeah. David Pocock and
David
Pocock, sorry,
the ex-Ulster medic, but we'll get
David Pocock and what's the captain just recently retired for Australia? He was asked would he play against the Lions. He went to Japan.
Michael Hooper,
yeah, Michael Hooper Michael Hooper and Pocock. If you remember, I remember, those two sevens essentially playing. So we see it a bit now where we're bulking up the back rows a little bit, but so there's it's a good side. Thomas Clarkson finished the season very well.
Yeah, he did,
particularly in that final against the Bulls, he was outstanding. We've seen what Gus McCarthy can do last November. Jack Boyle. There's a number of them up front there.
Even looking there, Gavin Coombs, 2 caps. Like, what age? Like, this is now, if you would say, I wouldn't say it's his time. That might have been a couple of years ago, but like, he needs to perform, which he has been. But this is a big opportunity. Yes, it mightn't be the best size in the world, but who knows? But is it just the fact that everyone else around him in the 6, 7, 8 jersey for Ireland has been incredible, and he hasn't got his crack?
There's been lots of good, excellent world-class players. Conan and
Van der Flower, everyone, Doris.
Yeah, but even the
number 8.
from the 8 positions, Deegan was probably ahead of him over the years as well, and Cian Prendergast. I'm sure it's been frustrating. I think he's a man mountain, isn't he, Gavin Coombs? He's an outstanding athlete. He's very powerful, has that physicality. I've probably said this a few times. He just needs more involvements. He needs to kind of take control of those moments and come up with big moments. He scores a lot of tries. But it's fantastic for him. And the issue with Gavin Coombs...
But can you see him getting ahead? Not of Doris, but can you see him get ahead of Conan, or does he just need to get man of the matches every week and be player of the season for Munster?
If you go back, Ireland played a New Zealand selection there, was it two Novembers ago?
As in the one against the Murray? Yeah. It was a bad day on Friday night.
It was a bad night for all those players. There was a number
Mackenzie
of players
played,
involved.
Didn't he?
Yeah, number of players. It was a strong New Zealand selection, and number of players there that kind of went backwards a little bit in the perception. The danger here in this Georgia match is you're kind of damned if you do. If you win the game narrowly, people will critique it. Here's the narratives. If you win it well, they'll say, well, it was just Georgia. But I think there'll be more credit given if you win. If this Irish team win by 20, 25, 30 points here and have a good win and play well, they'll deserve the credit for it because this is a tricky one. And obviously there's a danger that Georgia could kind of upset them here and really frustrate them and make it so difficult for them. I'm sure Paul O'Connell, the rest of the coaches, will take any sort of a win here, but you want players stepping up. So when you talk about Gavin Coombs, you want him to have a real kind of attitude in this game and have those big moments, come up with big tackles, be really physical. But when you look at the team, it's a very athletic, physical forward pack, isn't it? There's a lot of dynamism there. Boyle, McCarthy, Clarkson, he's a good carrier. You just go through them all. They're all really good carriers.
Probably in the best form he's been in years.
Yeah, it's a big moment for Nick Timoney as well. I think he's obviously got a few more caps than Gavin Coombs and been involved in a good few Ireland squads in the last number of years. And I think Nick Timoney needs to kind of step up now. You know what I mean?
It's not last chance saloon.
Yeah, it's not last chance saloon. So there's a bit of pressure on some of them here, and I think they need to, if you want to play against South Africa and Australia and New Zealand in November, you have to play well here. You have to. It mightn't be, you're not looking for this perfect performance, but you've got to smash guys in the tackle. You've got to make strong carries. You've got to continuously be working. The stuff that's in your control. It's not trying to make massive line breaks or come up with brilliant phases of play. It's just be really strong in the simple things. Your physicality, your ball carriers, your breakdown work rate, all that kind of stuff. And they're the kind of things you can measure and mark, and the coaches can look at them. So it's a very good team. Tommy O'Brien on the wing, I think he's someone who is incredible X factor, incredible pace. And I think he's, it's a great opportunity for him here. Obviously, his first cap. He's had a good few injuries in the last couple of years. But he's someone you could see going straight into that Irish team. He's that good at the moment. Jimmy O'Brien has played a good bit for Ireland, super player as well. Jamie Osborne at outside centre. He's a wonderful footballer. He's a brilliant 12, excellent 15. I don't think he's a winger, or I don't think he's an outside centre. Of course, he can play there. Who are the other outside centres that this Irish team have? And
Hume, also with name the whole Ulster thing, but I know what you're trying to get at.
It's an area that would worry
but he's injured, obviously.
He's not a natural.
Hugh Cooney.
Yeah,
that might be Hugh Cooney there, Alan. What do you reckon?
It's Joe Schmidt. He wants to know, can he come on the podcast with us? I don't think we have a big list of outside centres.
Who are we missing, actually?
And that's probably why.
Tree? Are we missing? Obviously, Gary Ringrose, but.
Yeah, Gary Ringrose with the Lions, but he's an outstanding player, Jamie Osborne. I hope people don't get me wrong with that, but we need some outside centres coming through. We need a bit of pressure and options there with Gary Ringrose for the World Cup in 2027. So yeah, there's some very good players there, I think, and we'll see some changes next week. We'll see some different players come in a little bit. The approach. I think the rest of the squad will get game time against Portugal, but this is a tough start for him. Michael Mill on the bench as well. It's a great opportunity for him. Jack Ainger, they're guys who could get their first caps. Ben Murphy, who said it all season, he's an incredibly exciting player, and
that move's been brilliant for him. Going to Galway.
It has been, and of course there's a bit of redemption for Jacob Stockdale. He's had a really good season. He's looked very sharp. I think it is a little bit of, you've got to grasp this now, Jacob, and make an impression here.
He's always made squads, though. Like there's something on.
He's always made squads,
yeah.
But I think I just think he's an incredibly talented player. So much pace, size, great left foot. You want to see that bit of a physical side. You see Mac Hansen, the work rate. You see James Lowe, the little bit of narkiness, the physicality. There's no reason why Jacob Stockdale's a big man. He needs to be physical here in these two games and come away with being a bit of a ruthless edge they've got to bring to this. So that's what I would like this Irish team, to be ruthless here, to stand toe to toe, because the Georgian crowd will be on top of them here, and they'll be they're coming up against very good players. The vast majority of this Georgian squad play in France. They're involved. They're not all starting for the top 14 teams. But there's a hell of an amount of them, with a lot of the good teams, Montpellier, Lyon,
Nashville, Tabatadze, we could go all
Toulon, La Rochelle. There's a lot of them play for the Black Lions as well.
Which Richard Cockrell coaches, of course, doubles up with the national team and the club team. Alan, I want to hold fire there, as you spoke about the coaches earlier, and let's hear from Paul O'Connell now what he talked about Ireland and also the opposition, Georgia.
So that's the great thing for this tour. You know, it's so good. We've had so many players selected for the Lions. You know, there's another bonus for us in that we get this really tough test match in a place, I suppose, in a country that are full of confidence in how their rugby is going. So these guys have they have a real challenge on their hands, and it's not a test match or a game of I suppose small significance. It's a really significant test match where they have to perform. So they're going to learn a lot. We'll learn a lot as coaches as well.
Just final one on the challenge of Georgia themselves, a team that's steadily improved over the last number of years. Could you just tell us a bit about them?
Yeah, well, they're an excellent side. I think, you know, they're a very proud rugby nation, but they're really well coached as well. You know, we know a lot of their coaches. Obviously, Conor McPhillips, Roddy Grant. I would have learned an awful lot from Roddy Grant when I first came into the job at Ireland. He was working in Ulster at the time. You can see it in how they play. They're very well organised. I suppose a little bit like us. They're quite passionate about what they do, and they're able to combine that now with some really good organisation and really good structure to what they do. They have a mixture of players playing in France who bring a real, I suppose, flair to what they do, and the Black Lion players have impressed a lot of the coaches as well. The likes of from a forwards point of view, the likes of Boop Ashvili, and even Ashvili, these kind of guys, they're really tough, well organised, smart rugby players. So and you know, they did a good autumn, nearly beat Italy. They obviously beat Georgia. They did a good summer last year. They put 29 points on Australia down there. They didn't beat them. They beat a Tier 1 nation in Japan. They've been steadily beating Tier 1 nations in the last number of years. So, so it's a brilliant test match for our players.
His Georgian pronunciation there, to be fair. A couple of blue ticks there. He's very good.
Yeah, he's done well.
What about that quote, really significant test match? Maybe gone back years ago, these were just gimmies. I think, without being disrespectful, but this certainly isn't.
A few times I've played against Georgia and it's been tricky. I mentioned the one at the World Cup, so you're always...
Even back in the day, Alan, you were like, these boys can shock us, yeah?
Yeah, you don't think they're going to win, but you've got to be on your game.
Do you think this Georgia team
they could yeah,
win?
Yeah. They'll sense it. There's 15 Irish players away, isn't there?
Be some statement from
home.
them.
Yeah, it
World
would be.
Cup.
They can
run
Ireland close here. They can cause problems. They've beaten Wales, haven't they, in recent times? I think Ireland have got to be careful. They'll know that. Paul will know that. He's been involved as a player against them and as a coach against them as well. And it's an exciting group of players, coaches as well. Young coaches getting their first chance. Leamy, Prendergast, Cully Tucker. And even though the Lions is kind of all the attention is on the Lions, there'll be certainly people paying attention to what happens in Tbilisi on Saturday evening, and very interested to see how some of these players come through. And you know, for Sam Prendergast as well, he's
surprised he gets the first test over Jack, or is this
I don't know.
Both get two shots at it?
I don't know. Even will they give one test each, or will they just? Who knows what they're thinking? They probably should. But I think if I was picking one, if they're getting a test each, I'd be picking Crowley for Georgia, because they're a very physical side. Portugal probably won't possess the same physicality. We did see them at the World Cup, and they were outstanding at times. Their attack play and their ability to keep the ball alive, Portugal. So. And Paul mentions there about their kind of flair. I think their flair is quite individualistic. They've super players who can step and run, and they're really quick. I'm not sure they're the best attacking side. I think they're trying to evolve their game. But knowing Richard Cockerell, I think he's going to try and get his team to go after him at Ireland in a set piece, scrum, line out, breakdown, all those kind of areas. So that's where Ireland need to be really good. So it's a really good test for for Clarkson, McCarthy, Jack Boyle, and the props come off the bench, Milne and Ainger, about getting a scrum. And if you have a good scrum, I think there's enough quality in this Irish team to cause problems. So I think they will do well. I think Ireland will win the game. I think it's a strong side, and there's some players here who, as we spoke about, have a chance to kind of put their hand up. I don't know where there's 5-6 players coming through here that you think will be starting, the
November,
or even go 2027.
Okay,
Is there 5-6 guys here who are going to come straight in and be in that Irish team going to the World Cup, or even in the squad? I don't know. There's probably the obvious ones that we think will be there is Baird, and Gus McCarthy's come through brilliantly. Jack Boyle has a great opportunity. The one, I mentioned Tommy O'Brien. I think he's someone that
box office, but also
I think
good in defence.
Yeah, he's incredible speed, and anytime you can get out and out gas into your team, the better. But of course, there is an opportunity for loads of them there.
This week, Dennis Leamy was saying Ireland will play exactly like the Andy Farrell team, but just try and do it better, if that makes sense, or more cohesive, like they were doing in the Six Nations. Because the people were asking them, and the media were saying, will it be a slightly different Ireland? And it was very much, no, this is the way we play. We just need to click pretty quickly. Yeah,
I think of course, you want to try and keep a little bit of cohesion in the structure.
So that answer didn't surprise you at all?
Not really. I think Mike Prendergast will definitely trying to evolve and try and add a little bit into that, and have a few strike plays and really intelligent kicking game. Even though Mike is renowned for his attack, he's really diligent on crossfield kicks and using that to your advantage as well. And if you have the likes of Izuchuku and you can keep him towards the wings,
Baird on the other side,
Baird, Thomas Hearn coming on, they're good crossfield kick options and stuff. And you're going to get a hard rush defence here from the Georgians. They love getting off that line and smashing into you. So Ireland have got to be patient here. And so I think they're going to, when you have Prendergast, Crowley there and Craig Casey, they're used to the shape that Ireland are trying to play.
Captain Ireland, for the first time in Munster Mound, become the 112th Ireland Test captain since 1875. Third scrum half captain. His country in the professional area after Niall Hogan and Owen Redden. And yes, the Six Nations he was injured, but even speaking to him last week in the interview, the last 2 years or 18 months, his trajectory has gone high, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. He looks very comfortable at the top level.
Very confident when he speaks.
Calm, composed, developed a lot of leadership. I think, he probably was trying to force things a little bit in the last couple of seasons before. I think pre-12, 18 months ago, there was a lot of rushing and trying to make things happen really. I think he's found a patience, and even those little snipes or little darts and breaks that he makes, he's picking his moments now, and he's realising that he has an outstanding pass. The speed of the pass is super. I think his pass is better than Gibson Park. Gibson Park all-round game is world class, I think, but I just think the speed of that pass.
How far is he off Gibson Park?
18
months?
They're different players.
Or is that too long?
No, they're different players. I think Gibson Park is really quick, and he's elusive, and he runs a lot. He's a brilliant reader of the game. So I think Craig's reading of the game has improved dramatically. Maybe 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, you saw him maybe picking the ball up and trying to look. Now he can make decisions nearly on the run. When he gets to the ball, he can pick out runners. And you saw himself and Crowley come on against Australia, didn't you, in November? And they added real pace and something different to the game. The width of his pass is outstanding, and his kicking game has improved.
He's feisty enough as well. He doesn't shirk anything.
Yeah, he is, and he's, of course, it's a great honour for him to be captain, and I think he's a good selection, a good choice here. I probably, I'm always kind of, oh God, what about this and this going wrong? This is a super team. This is a team that could kick on here and get a really good win. There's a lot of quality, a lot of danger in there. If they get the right amount of ball to, Jimmy O'Brien and Tommy O'Brien, Osborne, McCluskey, Stockdale, there's quality there. McCluskey, probably, is he one for the future, or is he I've listened to some of the interviews this week that he's the elder. He's the
he
elder
played against
statesman.
O'Connell.
Yeah,
The only one in there in the squad.
yeah, he's the elder statesman, and he's
got a relaxed style way about him now, doesn't he?
He's an outstanding player, and
20th cap.
he's tough, and he's stuck in there, and he's come on and delivered for Ireland over the years.
When was his debut? 9 years ago against England, was it 2016?
You
or
talk,
2015, 2016?
You talk about positions and players ahead of you, and Gavin Coombs, the options he had, but McCluskey has had Bundyaki, Henshaw, Ringrose there for the last number of years, and they're all world.
And he's been Ulster's top performer for a number of years
Yeah,
now.
they've all been world class. He's had a few injuries, but is Stuart McCluskey going to the World Cup in 2 years' time? That's the question.
I don't know, because I don't have to answer it, you do.
Yeah, I know. So
I can tell by the way you're looking at me, maybe not.
I don't know. Well, at 32, he's going to be 34. So do you bring in a 12? Possibly. I'm not saying he's not, but I'm just saying he must be in. Andy Farrell, I think, I'm sure there would have been a conversation, or it's not. Maybe he's not involved or hasn't had any involvement here, but. It's not a case of Paul has had to fax the team through to Andy.
Must be so hard though. He's actually taken his chances for Ireland whenever they've came, even though they've only been in small numbers.
Yeah.
And you still go back to being third, fourth choice inside
he's a
centre.
very good player. So, it's a physical team. It's a very athletic team as well. So, I'm talking about those outside backs, but like lots of dynamic players up front. But they've got to do the fundamentals well first. They've got to get scrum, line out, and break down that stuff right. And if they front up here, they could get a really good win here.
Okay, that's Tbilisi and Saturday. Of course, Georgia 8 consecutive Rugby Europe Championships in a row, 17 in total, and they'll be looking forward to playing Ireland.
Very much looking forward to playing Ireland. It's a massive scalp for them. So, it's a tough one.
Okay, rugby across the other side of the world now with the Lions. Couple of games played, obviously that defeat against Argentina. We haven't spoken in a while, Alan, so we'll touch base in the overall series. And then they won yesterday by 50 points. And also that middle game on Saturday also got a win. What have you made so far? Obviously the big news, couple of injuries. Williams gone, and then Elliot Daly, because he's been one of the standout performances.
He's been brilliant, Elliot Daly.
And he's brought out Owen Farrell. We could probably talk for years if it's a right call or wrong call. Anyway, it'll be his fourth tour. Hasn't played much rugby at all. Moved back to Saracens when it didn't quite work in Racing. Hasn't played for England since the World Cup in 2023. I still think, again, no one cares what I think, a marvellous player. This will be his fourth tour, which is just ridiculous, Alan. Where do you sit in this? Would you have gone with Tom Jordan? Would you have gone with George Ford? Would you have gone with Blair Murray? I suppose it depends if they're going with a 10 replacement or a 15 replacement, but you could chuck the balls in the air and see what happens. Which way do you see it?
The comfort for him here is, and they've been able to do this because they have Hugo Keenan, Kinghorn, Marcus Smith, who can play full back. So they have options there. They're not light in that situation. Could you drop a Tommy Freeman back in there? Of course you could. Or
beg your pardon, it was the Lions that played the Western Force on Saturday.
Yeah, it was the Force on Saturday. It was the Reds yesterday, and so they've been, you can kind of fill in that position easier. I just don't know if you need another fly half. Obviously, it's probably an indicator of a little bit of fear or worry, not necessarily about the performances of Russell, because I think he's been very good.
Does he not trust Finn Smith then?
I don't know.
And he maybe doesn't trust Marcus to come into 10?
I don't think he trusts... I don't know if they... I think Marcus Smith is an outstanding
trust
rugby
might be
player.
the right word. To win a game if Finn Russell gets injured after 3 minutes.
But they've obviously,
a test match.
They've obviously looked at this and said, we've a back three player and a centre option in Elliot Daly as well. He can play wing, centre, full back. He's out of the tour, and you bring in a fly half. So there's obviously some doubt about the possibility of either Finn Smith or Marcus Smith. I think Finn Russell will start. So they're bringing Owen Farrell in as backup. Maybe, will you see him sitting on a bench for the first test? I doubt it.
Do you really doubt that?
I don't know. I think if you're not involved from the tour from the start, well, Andy spoke about him not selecting him because of match practice and match sharpness and all that stuff. Unless he's been training the house down in the last couple of weeks with with fitness coaches and doing incredible conditioning.
Was there not a bit of a coach saying he was just getting back to those fitness regimes, but there was no one there to tackle and do his physical activity?
Yeah. So that's difficult. So obviously he's I'm sure he stayed dialed in the last few weeks and has been training, because Andy Farrell hasn't waited for 3 or 4 weeks and suddenly said, well, you haven't trained, you've been on holidays, and now I'm bringing you in. He must have been training and staying dialed in.
And he referenced him in the first tour announcement.
Yeah, he did. And he trusts him. He's his dad. There's a little bit of criticism online. There's loads of people making comments saying that, he shouldn't be going. I'm kind of in the middle here. I love Owen Farrell.
Get off the fence.
No, I mean, I love Owen Farrell. I've always loved his attitude, his tenacity, his aggression, his toughness. I've always loved that.
Am I holding him to high regard?
It's a very risky one, because just hypothetically say there's a couple of injuries and Owen Farrell starts a test or comes on after 10 minutes in the second test or something like that. Is he fit enough? Is he sharp enough? There's a little bit of doubt there, but I find it very hard to doubt Andy Farrell then, because I've seen him over the years. I love his strength and tenacity as well, and his son gets it from him as well. So
you've got Sexton, Farrell, and then Finn Russell in the middle.
Yeah, I know. It's he's the most relaxed.
Who's the puppet master there?
He's so relaxed, isn't he, Finn Russell? And but look, it's a big call, and let's see if it works out. I'm not sure. I think Tom Jordan can feel very unlucky. He's the one I would have went for.
Over Ford.
Yeah, because I think they obviously have some issue around 10. They obviously feel they need a little bit more cover there. They know Owen Farrell can come in and, there is that composure, that experience, that self-confidence, all that kind of stuff was very high. Does he have the legs? Does he have the sharpness? We'll see if he's involved. But I think Tom Jordan can feel a little bit hard done by. But like I said, you said get off the fence. I find it very hard to ever doubt Owen Farrell, But we had a little bit of critique, hadn't we, ourselves with Ireland, with Johnny Sexton at the World Cup, and should he have went on, should have changed, Jack Crowley come on sooner in the New Zealand game. It's all how, after the...
It's easy sitting in this.
It is. Well, it's...
Yeah.
I mean, if when a result goes bad, if this works out, it'll be the best result. It'll be a great decision. And
Genius.
if Farrell comes on and gets a drop goal to win a test or win a series, who knows? So you never know. It's risky, but you have to talk about... there is a lot of people, and there's a fair clamour for saying that he shouldn't be there. But
first test, a couple of weeks away. Who has stood out for you? Early days, but if you had to say 3 or 4 names that are definitely going to start that first test.
Tommy Freeman is an outstanding rugby player, and last weekend against the Force, Mac Hansen was outstanding. I just think when Freeman touches the ball and the way he pops up and the quality he's shown, that's a real battle, isn't it? Mac Hansen has been superb too. The work rate there in one part of that towards the end of that game where chases back, makes a tackle.
And Farrell will eat that up.
He loves it.
That,
He loves that stuff, and
every coach would.
Mac Hansen is kind of this bit of a, portrayed as being this. He is very laid back.
I'd say he's diligent enough.
He's different, but I tell you, he must be doing his job. Yeah. He must be doing his job. He must be hitting his fitness scores, because you can't do that and be blasé and lazy. And he's a superb player. Both wingers played really well on Saturday, but I think Tommy Freeman is. It's going to be very difficult to see him not start a Test match.
Centre pairing.
It's very, the way I think Ringrose and Aki, having them paired against the Reds yesterday, they were really good. I think it's still all to play for there, because you can go Tupolato Aki. I don't think you can go Tupolato Aki. Sorry, I don't think you should go. I think
work in Dublin.
I'm a fan of a natural outside centre, and we've seen Robbie Henshaw and Bundy Aki playing a few times over the years. If you have a quality outside centre available, you play them. Obviously, if you're down a number and you have to improvise, that's fine. But I think they don't play together for me, Tupolato and Aki. what's going to happen in the first test. They're going to be probably selected together. But, you know, it's either one or the other at 12, Aki, and I think Aki's probably slightly ahead. I think Tbilisi is chasing a little bit that form and that
played,
fitness.
sure.
It's very hard. What a player he is. Yeah. He's a wonderful player.
I suppose the difficult thing for him is he a benchman then? Or is the fact he can only play a couple of positions, if not one, it's hard for him?
You're playing someone, you're playing someone who can
play
start
3 or 4
at full back or winger and move in, rather than Tbilisi or Aki can't play. You know, they can probably play 13 if they had to, but that's not an ideal situation for them. So I think it's maybe Aki on the bench, and we haven't seen Hugh Jones really kind of in full flow yet. It's still very early. I think they've, you know, with the Waratahs game, Brumbies, and then the invitational combination.
But some of them might only get
3 more games.
Yes, but some of them might only get one more hit out.
They might, yeah. And then it's hard to judge the first, you know, obviously the Argentina game they were giving them a bit of a pass there.
Didn't go to plan, though.
Yeah, and I think Argentina were outstanding, and it was very early days. And the last 2 very dominant wins in the second half. Teams, you know, the Force caused them a few problems. The Reds did yesterday. So it's very, very early. So I don't know. I think there's an argument right across the board. Joe McCarthy was outstanding, wasn't he? And he's after elevating his status, even in the UK papers, media, podcasts.
We're all so fickle, but maybe it's right. One game and you're there, and right, you know, you're going on form and what you're saying week in, week out.
I think from here on in is unique.
Does McCarthy start?
Well, I don't think he starts with Itoje, and then the captain is out then, isn't he? I don't know. I don't think it's. I think if we're in South Africa, there might be an argument to play it. You might play Itoje and Joe McCarthy, but yeah, he's been brilliant. You know, you're leaving Tyburn out then of the team, and he's captaining the weekend. There's so many permutations here, and they can go so many different ways. I think from a back row point of view, the back row we saw yesterday,
Morgan, Ubiquitous, cracking.
He's an outstanding player, yeah, and I think he put his hand up big time for that 7 jersey.
Surprised?
No. I saw him on the back foot a lot with Wales in the last year, and he was brilliant. Opening Six Nations game in Paris under a lot of pressure against the French, he was just non-stop. He's a brilliant player. I think Jack Conan's going to be the number 8. And there's an opportunity then for a Curry, maybe a Tyburn in the back row, an Ollie Chesham. If it was me, I'm picking a line-out operator. So it's either Chesham or Byrne in the back row. And then there's 2 slots between, you know, Jack Conan starts and Morgan's probably at 7.
Does Henry Pollock make the 23?
I don't know. I think Ben Earl is a great impact player as well, and he's versatile. We saw him coming on the centre yesterday. Josh van der Fleer, what a player as well. So, you know, I don't know. It's really difficult at the moment. I think if you... The thing that Andy Farrell will be looking for here is less sloppiness and probably a little bit more scrutiny around these first half performances. All 3 have been poor, sloppy with the ball, lacking a bit of urgency, poor execution in passes.
That's a good point to pick that up. All 3 you think have been poor, and we haven't seen that from an Ireland team. We're 3 in a row. Not in a while,
I mean, the 3 first halves.
Fine, okay.
So Argentina first half, poor. I think they responded very well in the second half, and, you know, Argentina get that breakaway try. It's Cordero scores.
What is that? Why do you think that's happening?
A little bit of continuity and knowing your role inside and outside with the players, being comfortable, maybe being a bit over-enthusiastic the way they shut off the line, and, you know, Albornoz throws the dummy and he gets through a gap, and they finished it brilliantly. Of course, the Force and the Reds, they come out of the blocks, they have that energy, they're trying to take a big scalp here. So
like Georgia
I'm not overplaying it and saying, I just think in all 3 interviews post-match, the coaches have spoken and the players about being disappointed with what they did in the first half. So I think you don't want to, in a couple of weeks, be, going in at half time and the Australians' tails up and they're ahead, or because they'll punish you. There's a lot of danger in this Australian side that they'll play in a couple of weeks. And I just keep saying about Joe Schmidt, he'll have stuff up his sleeve here. And I'm sure the Lions are holding back some stuff as regards shape, attack, strike plays, things like that. There'll be certainly some
strike plays. Yeah, I agree with you there. Do you think?
Not a huge amount in the shape. Not in the shape.
Yeah,
you can't just suddenly kind of hide everything. Yeah. But I mean some strike plays off lineouts. Strategy around kicking game, things like that. There'll be a couple of things held back.
What about the mind games from Joe Schmidt and Farrell whenever it was
that'll
all
be interesting when it happens in the next few weeks.
Releasing Australians to their franchise.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, and I think, I just love the intrigue of what's going to happen in the next few weeks. And Joe knowing a lot of these players particularly well, not just the Irish players, he'll know a lot of the other players as well from analysing them when he was coaching here. But going back to your question about who's putting their hands up, Ellis Genge is causing a few problems for Porter. I think Porter actually played really well in the last couple of games that he was involved in. But Genge is someone who's accelerated.
Just ahead of him?
I'm not sure he's ahead of him, but he's caught up with him. Porter was ahead beforehand. I think Dan Sheehan is still going to start, and rightly so. Tided's an interesting one as well because, Furlong, we know what he can do. We know the quality he has. He needs some sharpness. He's on the bench for the game at the weekend.
It's actually just great to see him play rugby again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in fairness, he looked quite good the other day. He didn't have huge involvements with ball, but he was moving around the field pretty well, and I think
that's where we're at now with him.
Yeah,
is he all right? Can he catch and pass, and then when he gets to carry?
He just needs match practice, and if he stays involved in the next couple of weeks in these matches and gets more minutes under his belt, I think he'll start. I think Toje Byrne at the moment are the second row starters. It does concern me a little bit about the line-out. It's a big weekend for James Ryan. I think he had 15, 20 minutes yesterday. He come under the radar here? If he had a dominant performance, runs the line out well, I think it's himself and Ty Byrne obviously are playing together in the second row. But I think James Ryan, there's an opportunity here because the partner for Itoje, for me, has to be a good line-out operator. Well, it's an advantage if they are.
And is James Ryan in your eyes the man for that?
I think he has shown that ability before. Can Tygburn call lineouts and run the line? Of course he can. And Toje is usually calls a lot all the lineouts for England and has been calling them for the Lions. But it could put him in the picture to be on the bench if their lineout was wobbling a little bit. So it's a big opportunity for James Ryan, and as I said, the back row. Yeah, I think Conan starts. I think he's the only certainty here. He's the only number 8 there, and I think they should go.
Well, Earl can play it, can't he?
Pardon?
Earl can play it.
He can, but I mean the most natural number 8.
Fine.
It's normal position for Conan. So Gibson Park and Finn Russell are the other two certainties. After that, there's you can go either way in lots of other positions.
Fullback?
It only starts really now, doesn't it? Because Kinghorn was in. It's given him a chance. He's on the wing at the weekend, and Hugo Keenan's full back. So it's only starting now. Who's going to play
He's
full
had a great
back?
time, Miles Kinghorn, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's. I think Elliot Daly was. We didn't really think it when the teams were named.
People
we
were
thought
like,
it's going to be
really
one or the other.
tour?
Yeah, and then you're thinking it's one or the other, Kinghorn or Keenan. It's back to that situation now, but it's dead level at the moment for them.
We'll stop you there. That was brilliant, touching on Ireland and the Lions. And make sure to tune in on Saturday night to Tbilisi. We're there on Virgin Media. Alan will be in commentary, and we'll be back again to review the Lions and the Irish performance under Paul O'Connell next week.